So I did record and upload my UFC 308 full card prediction video, but one fight that I did miss is the Rinat Fakhretdinov short notice replacement matchup against Carlos Leal. So in this video, I wanted to do a separate video talking about the fight, because I do think that this is an important fight to at least break down in some sort of way, because Carlos Leal has now been signed to the UFC to fight Rinat Fakhretdinov on short notice. And it's a very good signing. I feel like a lot of people are going to be unfamiliar with Carlos Leal that probably should be familiar with him after this fight, win or lose, because this guy, he isn't just kind of anyone that they've signed, some guy that's like 6-0, 7-0 against nobody. Carlos Leal is a legitimate former PFL fighter. He has had close matchups. He's had good wins as well so far throughout his career. He holds wins over Ray Cooper III in 2022. When a win over him would mean something. Delano Taylor is a great fighter. I believe he fought in the finals in the 2022 season. David Zawada, former UFC fighter, knocked him out in 2.5 minutes, and then 2 decision losses to Sadibou Sai, who's now a light heavyweight. But anyway, the fight odds makers have actually given Carlos Leal a lot of respect in this fight, and Rinat Fakhretdinov is only -160 against Carlos Leal, who is +140. And if you guys know Rinat, in the past, we have had Rinat be massive favourites over a lot of pretty decent competition. But to talk about Carlos Leal, to talk about his fighting style, looking at numbers on a paper, you see that most of his wins do come by knockout in the first round. And that is because he is just a really powerful striker. Now, I would say that overall, he sets up his shots very, very well. He does have a pretty good jab, and he throws his jab a lot to set up his big power punches. But for the most part, he actually does want to pressure forward and dictate the range on the feet to land big shots. And a lot of the time, his opponents just kind of crumble under the pressure of him and crumble under his strikes. You can really see it in his post-PFL run against this guy Marcio Breno. You can find this fight on YouTube. They uploaded it pretty recently because he was meant to fight tomorrow. At the time of me recording this video, he was meant to fight October 22nd, and the event is October 26th. So short notice fight, but he's had a training camp for it. But nonetheless, you can watch his fight against Marcio Breno, and in that fight, you can see over time, as Carlos Leal lands more strikes, Marcio Breno just kind of, it looks like he gasses out in like 3 minutes, and that's just the accumulation of damage and pressure of Leal landing to the body and landing his big, powerful strikes. And you can see it especially as well against this guy Manuel Mena. And I mean it when I say this. Manuel Mena looked like he gassed out in 90 seconds. He was attempting takedowns against Carlos Leal, wasn't getting them because Leal does have pretty good takedown defense, which I will get to in a second. And he was failing these takedowns, and he was just like sitting on the ground and taking seconds to stand up. He just didn't want to be in the fight at all. The way that Carlos Leal fights is he is going to pressure forward. He's going to land big shots on Rinat. He's going to at least try to anyway. But I do worry just a little bit about a couple of things. And that is just the fact that he hasn't actually fought anyone like Rinat. And I feel like he hasn't fought anyone like Rinat for a very long time. And what I mean by that is I don't think he's actually fought like a very good, solid wrestler for years now, because if you look through, I mean, Manuel Mena and Breno did both attempt takedowns on them, but they weren't good wrestlers. Sadibou Sai, Delano Taylor are just pure strikers. He did just absolutely annihilate David Zawada. And I would always say like the last time he fought like a really good wrestler is Ray Cooper III in 2022. But would you consider Ray Cooper III to be a wrestler? I mean, he really is a knockout artist at the end of the day in his own right. So I don't think that Carlos Leal throughout his career so far has shown great takedown defense against a great wrestler. Now, nonetheless, he has shown good takedown defense. He defended every single takedown that Mena attempted. He defended every single takedown that Marcio Breno attempted. But do I think that he can defend the takedowns of Rinat Fakhretdinov? And I am going to say no to that, because although Rinat did just win a split decision in his comeback fight, I guess you would call it, from his draw to Lesiu Zaleski, where he did get TNA'd towards the end there, Rinat Fakhretdinov still did go 5 for 11 on takedowns against Dalby, and although Dalby is old enough to be my father, he still is a very good fighter, and he actually did turn away some very good prospects, such as Bonfim on his run to running into Rinat Fakhretdinov. And prior to that, he was dominating everyone. I feel like we all can remember the matchup against Brian Battle, where he just took down Brian Battle every round and just smoked him on the ground. Do I think that he's going to be able to repeat that against the top 15? Do I think that he can repeat that against Carlos Leal? I'm going to say no, but I do think he can get the takedowns anyway. Now, Rinat Fakhretdinov's striking isn't great. I mean, it never really has been great. I know he dropped Kevin Lee and then subbed him quickly, but poor Kevin Lee. Poor Kevin Lee. But I just don't think that it's going to come down to the striking in this fight. It is the wrestling of Rinat versus the striking of Carlos Leal. Leal is not the most technical striker. He's no wonder boy, but he does have good setups. He does set up his strikes very well with his jab. He does have very powerful shots that he mix to the head and to the body. And he does have strong leg kicks as well. I do want to talk about that. And that could be a factor because a lot of the time when you see these strikers take on wrestlers, they just take out the legs because the legs obviously can drive the takedown attempts. And if you've got dead legs, you don't have as much power as you normally would without leg kicks. If that makes any sense. I am picking Rinat Fakhretdinov here. I do have some concern. I mean, the odds makers clearly see Carlos Leal as a massive threat. And he did find success in the PFL. I just think that this is a little bit too much. Yes, he did accept this fight, I want to say only about 5 days ago at the time of me recording this fight, but there's this fight video. He still did have a matchup booked for Wednesday, and now he's fighting on Saturday, so he still had a fight booked, and he still had a full training camp. So yes, he is going to come into here with a full camp. I do worry just a couple of things about Leal just in general now that he is in the UFC. He is a big welterweight. In the past, though, I think he was a little bit bigger. He did look a little bit out of shape, and he did miss weight like more than once for the PFL. And I believe one of these weight misses, he missed weight by like 5 pounds. So it was a pretty big deal. It might have been this one, only 1 pound there. But I do remember Leal struggling to make the weight when I was covering him in the PFL. But nonetheless, I am going to pick Rinat Fakhretdinov here. I do think he's going to win another decision. You know, we have seen him finish Kevin Lee, but at the end of the day, when he does take on these pretty decent fighters, he has been struggling to find the finish, and although I haven't seen much tape of Carlos Leal lying on his back with someone pretty powerful on top of him, I just don't think that Rinat Fakhretdinov is going to be able to finish Leal, so I'm going to go with Rinat. Another thing as well, with Leal, I have seen him attempt takedowns before. I know that Nicholas Dalby attempted, I believe, 4 takedowns against Rinat Fakhretdinov. I don't think Leal's going to attempt takedowns here unless Rinat's completely gassed, because he did attempt takedowns against Marcio Breno, but the wrestling didn't look that good. Like, it did look very basic. He just took the back of Breno, picked him up, tossed him. Breno, while gassed out, just stood up. So I don't think Leal really has, like, great wrestling. So I do think Rinat can get it done there as well in the wrestling. So the pick is Rinat Fakhretdinov. Hopefully that's a pretty good introduction to Carlos Leal. I do want to say this though. No matter what he looks like in this Rinat fight, he's going to have a good career in the UFC. This guy is going to get highlight reel KOs. He probably can beat at least half the welterweight roster right now. So he probably is like a top 40 guy in the UFC promotion at 170, I would say, which is pretty good. I think there's like 75 welterweights on the roster. So I think that Carlos Leal's a good fighter. This is a good signing. I'm very happy for Leal as well because, you know, he did actually have a contract in a big promotion, but then lost it, I believe, with the merger. I'm pretty confident he lost it with the merger. I mean, losing a split decision to Sada Busai is no reason to get cut from the PFL. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm picking Rinat to win. Another thing about 308 too, I guess a lot of people are not happy about my Ilia Topuria boxing comments. I don't think that Ilia Topuria is the best boxer in the featherweight division. And I recommend watching his fight against Josh Emmett again. You know, I feel like a lot of people saw him 50-43 Josh Emmett, and I think you've got to watch the fight again. What is Ilia Topuria throwing the most? Hooks. He's throwing hooks. He doesn't throw jabs until like towards the end of the fight. Okay, anyway, nonetheless, we will see what happens. I'm picking Ilia. You would think that the comment section I'm picking Max. I'm picking Ilia to win. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.